What's going on, guys? Welcome to the third edition of Football Week. I'm Pug, and over here is my buddy Deshaun.
The Average Joe.
Yeah. We're doing something a little different this year. It's been a while. We've talked about doing something like this for a while.
We've been talking about it for probably about two years or so.
Yeah.
I'm sure our girlfriends would appreciate it so we can stop wasting, phone time minutes talking to each other. So that way they can talk to us and give us our big, long list of honey-do lists. Clean the floor, sand the fence, paint the house.
You know, it's funny that you say that because you were coming over, and my girlfriend had work, and she said, do all this cleaning. And I was going to do the cleaning. She walked in, I was like, and she's like, I thought you were going to do cleaning. I was like, I'm going to get to it. Anyway, well, this is Deshaun from Average Joe Sports, and I'm Pug from Pug Spots and Dog House, or James, or... Yeah, I have like 3
Of course.
games.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So we are wearing our, well, it was supposed to be, you want to discuss the jerseys?
Yes, the jerseys represent National Warrior School Colors Day, which I actually thought was today, because it's the last Saturday before college football season starts. However, I was wrong. It's actually on the 31st, but consider that most people will probably catch up on this stuff over the course of the week. I'll just start out just by saying, hey, happy National Warrior Colors Day. Dogs in the house, yeah, go Wildcats too, of the Central variety.
Yes, yes. I like to call myself a cat dog.
I love that show.
Well, because I mean, I'm Central first and,
of course.
Husky second,
Right.
So we're going to be talking about the Washington Huskies. Then we'll have a Pac-12 preview, which is brand new on my blog. We'll talk some Central Cats, got some interesting news in terms of getting another conference opponent up there. And then we'll follow up with the Seahawks, and unfortunately we have some Oakland Raider coverage.
You know it. Silver and black attack.
I am really disappointed that we could not go to the Oakland Raiders Seahawks exhibition game.
Yeah, I also do theater on the side.
Yeah,
so.
But that was so much fun. Well, I had fun. I don't know.
I had a great time, believe it or not, despite the fact that it's the last game of preseason, so it's very, very vanilla, so you don't really get to see exactly what's going on. But, for my very first live Raiders game, I seemed disappointed back in the day when we did the interview. There's an outtake. You should check it out, Mom.
Yes.
But in all in all, I actually did really have a really, really good time. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Hans and I had a great time heckling you as well.
Yes, of course. Of course.
I remember when Kyle Boyle came out, like, of course, that's why it's called bowler.
Right. He should have been a bowler.
All right, so let's start with the Washington Huskies, shall we?
Yes, let's
All right, so for a recap with the Washington Huskies, they were 7-5 in the regular season. They ended up losing to Baylor in the Alamo Bowl by an outrageous score of 67-56. Last year, they were 35th in the nation in passing yards, with averaging just over 250 yards per game. They were in the 25th slot of the top 25 in terms of scoring points, with just under 34. And then the defense, our favorite topic of discussion.
It was a very long subject, by the way.
Yeah, was ranked 108th. They averaged giving up just under 36 points a game. So this has been a topic of conversation for years. In fact, I think when it wasn't a topic of conversation, it was
the mid-90s.
Yeah, like the Lambert,
New Heisel era. Yeah, so it's the defense has been a very, very sore topic of conversation, just because, especially with this past year's offense scoring as many points as it did during the regular season with Keith Price and Chris Polk and Jermaine Kearse, out there. They were able to put the points on the board. Unfortunately, the defense couldn't keep the opposing team out of the end zone enough. Again, I understand when you score, 30, 40 points in a game, you're probably going to give up 14 to 21 points back. I understand that, but when you're in it, when you have a sizable lead, and then you wind up winning by 3 to 7 points, that shows poor class on the defense, and that's one of the main reasons why the defensive coordinator, I cannot remember his name right. Nick Holt. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good save. Nick Holt actually wound up getting fired. I mean, he wanted to run a spread wide open zone coverage. Unfortunately, we didn't have the speed. The times that we did, in fact, run man during the season, it actually tended to work a whole lot better because, again, bumping somebody off their line is way easier than trying to be in a specific spot at the right time. We get picked off. And these quarterbacks now, they read the zone a whole lot better than they did 5 years ago. So the zone is actually perfect for a quarterback because they know not everyone has to run the route completely. They just have to run half the route. And if they're open in the hole, they just raise their hand up and say, give me the ball.
Right. And when you got a quarterback like Keith Price, who is a throw first, run second, thank you.
Yes.
You know how much I like that.
I know.
But kind of to go a little bit about Nick Holtz, because he was fired, he was replaced by Justin Wilcox from Tennessee. And from what kind of give an idea of what he led, the defense in Tennessee was actually pretty decent. It was 36th overall in the nation, just allowing under 23 points a game.
In a very, very tough SEC conference.
Yeah.
I dog on the SEC a lot, but the one thing that the SEC has had for many, many years is great defense from top to bottom.
Well, and it's funny that you said it because at least when I was researching this, I saw, we got the new defensive coordinator from Tennessee, and I looked them up, and they actually were not very good last year.
No.
But, offensively, not very good. Rushing, they ranked 116th. For points, they were 106.
Yeah, so they actually have the exact opposite problem that
right.
We're like not putting enough points.
They're like the Mariners in Kansas City. Kansas City has all the bats, we have all the pitching. Can we just combine the two?
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. And their linebackers coach, Peter Sermon, is also from Tennessee. So he's coming to UW to do that.
Did you know he's a native of Wenatchee, Washington?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I love the local flavor.
Yeah, great. Yeah, according to ESPN.com, he's a Wenatchee native.
All right.
And let's see, he played for the Tennessee Titans as a linebacker. Spent the 2009 season as a graduate assistant at Oregon before going to Tennessee. And but he's got kind of a local tie to the Chelan County area.
Yeah, there you go. And hopefully he was there at Oregon long enough to where we can figure out the spread offense. But we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. But the defense, obviously a topic of conversation. What are you looking for in terms of the defensive side of because this was a conversation during the Gilbertson era, the Willingham era, now it's a conversation in the Sarkisian era. I mean, to quote your favorite sports talk show host, Dave Softy Mahler.
Love that guy.
Yeah. He said actually something that was pretty legit, which I think you agree on. Steve Sarkisian, and the head coach of the Huskies, has proven a pile of stuff on the offense, but nothing on the defense.
Right.
So,
and Coach Stark is an offensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
I mean, which is a great thing, especially in college football, which favors the offense more so than in the professional level. I'm not talking about rules-wise. I'm just talking about speed kills in a game that's based solely on youth. You have the fastest and the biggest people, you're going to succeed more so on offense because the defense as a whole, they all haven't developed. You don't develop as a defensive player until probably in your late 20s, early 30s. So, and by that time, they spent 4 or 5 years in the NFL by that time, and that way they're a much you actually see a vast improvement from someone's rookie year on the defensive side to their 5th year. So that
unless you're Kelly Jennings, and unfortunately in my case, Marcus Trufant.
Right.
So, but what are you looking for the defense? I mean, my whole thing is we talked about ad nauseum off camera about how the Dogs are very good at first and second down.
Third
down, not so much. Yes.
Third and short, ironically, they were actually very, 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 very stuck.
Yeah, remember the Cal game last year? Like it was 4th and goal, at the 1, and they stuffed them.
Yeah. They stuffed them. So third and short, which really, when you think about it, actually counts more because you're stopping the first downs. They were actually very successful. It's third and long, 3rd and 5, 7, 9, and 10 and 10 plus. They seem to kind of be lackadaisical, and they're trying to play to the first down marker versus trying to keep them trying to stay on and keep up the pressure. And that's one of the things where they wouldn't give up long passing plays or long running plays because of simple gaps in the defense, and that's something that definitely needs to be worked on. And also, we just need to keep the scoring threats down. I mean, looking at the Baylor game, yeah, it was a high-scoring game. It was very entertaining for everybody. But at the same time, when you see a point total like that, someone's not doing their job, and the defense is not doing their job. And we can't give up 40-plus points and expect to be a potential national title contender, which I'm not saying that they are. Mm-hmm. I'm saying to be put in the national spotlight, to be taken seriously, like the bigger teams, not in our conference, and also over the course of Division I bowl division, that we need to make those big stops against the big teams, and also we need to not play to our competition. We played USC, we played them close. We played Oregon close for a half.
Well, not last year though. Last year.
Oh no, the season before.
The season before for USC. Yeah, we lost 40-17.
Yeah.
You know, but I can see where you're going in terms of playing to the competition, because I remember last year, you and I mean, if you know somebody else who thought this way, let me know. But it just seemed that when we went to the Eastern Washington game. Mm-hmm. It just seemed that everybody was kind of okay, we should win this pretty single-handedly, and lo and behold, if it hadn't been for Desmond Trufant, Eastern wins that game by 4 points.
Right.
And the same thing can be said for the Hawaii game, the 40-32 victory. Utah and Colorado were just kind of there. Nobody really kind of expected.
I think the Colorado game was I went to the Colorado game, and I was like,
that was the one I missed.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is the most comfortable I've felt the entire season, because the defense really did, in fact, do their job to a Colorado team that I actually said, because of the conference that they played in before, that they would actually be contenders in the conference, and it just turned out that they just don't have the firepower or the recruiting to actually get those big guys out there. I can understand trying to compete, with the big guys in the Big 12. They're kind of out there. We're kind of out there on an island by themselves. Whereas I think now in their first, their second season in the conference, their first season. That's my phone again. And love it. And now they have actually had a whole season to really recruit within California and West Texas and Arizona, and and all the surrounding areas, Idaho as well, being a big recruiting spot. I think you're going to see more improvements for them, but again, we'll get to that in the Pac-12 South.
Right. It's already starting to have some tangents here. But kind of the game I wanted to get to, just as a prime example of playing to the opponent, with the Oregon State game.
Yes.
I mean, 38-21. Granted, Price didn't play, but at that point, I think every single Husky fan just kind of was at the mindset of, let's survive Oregon State. Let's beat the Cougs. We'll probably get 8 wins here and there, 8-4, very legitimate season. All of a sudden, we go down to Reser Stadium, and nothing against Nick Montana, which I believe he played okay in that game.
He played pretty decent.
Yeah, but that was just one of those times where when we did lower playing to our opponent, it caught up to us, which is something you can't do. I mean,
you just can't do
that. But very easy to do, particularly at the college level.
Right, exactly. And Oregon State traditionally has kind of been, well, at least
they're the
last 5 years.
Yeah,
they've been that one bugaboo team. It's like, for some reason, we can be riding high, and that's the one big loss we seem to take. And I mean, I understand from a Northwest Championship side, which is the mythical championship between the Washington and the Oregon schools, which really there was never a name for it before up until the new Heisler era. That's when that really got started.
Yeah,
so it was always fun, simple thing. You had the 4 Northwest schools playing each other just like you do in California. But they don't have a title. It's just and so. But it just seems like that has always been that team. For a while, it actually was in fact Washington State for a little bit. But right now, in the last 5 years, it's just been Oregon State's been that thorn in our side. Oregon State when oh my goodness, why am I'm just drawing blanks on all these names? During the Willingham era, we had an injury to our quarterback, and that cost us a bowl season.
Well,
I wouldn't talk in the last 4 games.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's what cost us the bowl season, but I can understand where you're going.
Yeah.
But I mean, because Carl Bonnell, I mean, he played a good solid game. I think it was just bad choice of play calling.
Yeah.
We were at fourth and 2, but that's the last play of the game, and we had a 2-yard specialist in Lewis Rankin. We should have just given it to him.
Let him do what he has to do.
Some key losses for the Huskies. We have 2 that I can pronounce, and the other one I'm going to give to you. The one that I can't pronounce, the running back Chris Polk, who's now with the Philadelphia Eagles. I heard on ESPN.
He actually went undrafted, which was a shock.
Yeah, he went undrafted, but then the Eagles took him, and apparently he's tearing it up. at least as far as today, which is the 24th of August. And then the other one is Jermaine Kearse, now playing with the Seattle Seahawks, trying to get a roster spot. And the other one is
Alameda Ta'amu.
Oh, wow. I could not find that guy. Like, I was like, okay, Timu, Tomato, like that.
You just have to figure out how to spell it phonetically, and it pops up as the first name on the Google searches. It took me a minute to find it, too.
Well, as far as the losses, I'm not too concerned about Kearse or Polk, just because, as we talked about before, Steve Sarkisian is a very offensive-minded coach.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of talent on the bench.
And there's a lot of, that in depth, but I know I want to get to play calling later on when we talk Central, but it just seems that Steve Sarkisian has done a really good job trying to put together an offensive plan, which is great. So I'm not too concerned about that. Tamu, however, that's the one I'm a little concerned with, because you got a senior on a defensive unit
who's an
anchor of a unit that's not very good. And not only that, I read in the paper a couple days ago that the linebackers of the Huskies are actually riddled with injuries.
Right.
So that takes away whatever depth that they had. So offensively, not too concerned.
No,
I think Polk, and I mean, he may be a once in a lifetime player, that type of deal, but people said the same about Locker. And look what happened. We have Price. I mean,
ironically, Locker's starting this year.
Yes, he is. No, that's fine.
That's fine.
But I would be concerned more about losing Tamu in terms of having, like, I guess you could say, like, the one good player on that unit gone.
Yeah.
So that's how I would look at it.
Oh yeah, and it's always a shame to lose seniors when they graduate out, because again, despite the fact that you may have the bodies to reload, that's still a leadership hole that you're leaving, and that can sometimes create a little bit of discord, because everyone's trying to figure out, well, where do I fit in now? Because you have this person being that guy, and all of a sudden you have to say, am I going to be the guy who steps up and takes over that leadership role, or am I going to sit back and still follow and let somebody else do it? And that's that's a typical thing, and that's something that now that really the defense as a whole has actually gotten younger in the sense of recruits. That's going to be kind of the new regime. Plus, with a new defensive coordinator and linebackers coach, that's going to kind of help shape this new defense, whatever defense that they choose to run.
Well, so let's go over some the expectations for the Huskies. I can tell you up front that I'm nervous about the Dogs this year in general. I think they will be competitive. I think they'll finish around the same place as they finished last year in the Pac-12 North. But here's the deal. When Steve Sarkisian first took over the program, he just needed to win one game.
Right.
Relatively two, if you want to count the Apple Cup.
Right.
So he wins 5 games his first year. Everyone's, oh, hey, we're competing again. Okay, that's great. Next year, he gets 6 wins. Okay, we finally faced a bowl game in such a long period of time. It's great. I think maybe if we lost to Nebraska, I even still think it would have been okay.
Oh, it would have been a successful season regardless.
Yeah.
When you go from over to bowl eligible
in 2 years,
that's a great jump.
Yeah.
It's a huge jump.
Whereas in last year, in my book, it was you got to get 7 victories.
Yeah.
And I believed, and I mean, my buddy Hans and I used to go back and forth, saying how the Huskies were not going to get 7 wins. And I said, okay, yes, they are going to get 7 wins. You are going to get 7 wins. Because they played so poorly down the stretch, I was kind of walking a tightrope.
Definitely.
They were 7-5, and you know the rest with losing to Baylor. This year, it will be, despite going to a bowl game, it will be a disappointment if the Huskies can't get 8 wins.
Right.
And which is why I'm nervous. When you think 8 wins, well, now you're talking about not just what level of bowl game you're going to, you're talking about a potential North Division championship and a potential berth in the Rose Bowl. And because of that, I know that football fans, including myself, you have a tendency to get carried away a lot. If we don't get 8 wins, the alumni, for the first time ever in the Sarkisian era, is going to start questioning whether or not the coach knows what he's doing, are the players playing at the right level, and this is probably the most pressure that Sark has ever had, because he's had a leash for quite some time.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also him being I use the term first-year coach lightly in the sense of he hasn't been a head coach at a university yet. He's been a quarterbacks coach, and he's been an assistants coach, because that's what he was doing at USC, and then left USC to become head coach up here. So, I mean, so ultimately, I think the pressure has always been on Sarkisian to succeed, but at the same time, the bar was set so low. Again, after when you go 1-12, anything's an improvement.
Yeah.
Beat Idaho for the love of God. Just do that for us, please.
Man.
So I mean I think that pressure and that need to succeed still drives Coach Sark, definitely. Again, it all depends on what the defense is going to do. Keith Price in that offense, they're going to score points. Plain and simple, because one, Keith Price as a whole, he can make plays happen by himself. He loves the naked boot. He loves to make those defenders come towards him, leaving that second level open for just a simple dump pass, and the receiver goes and gets those yards after carry. Because again, those are also just as important. The defense has to make the key stops in the game. My prediction for the Dogs right now, I've got the finishing third.
Before you give your predictions, I just want to say, you got the finishing third. But before we dissect into that, I just want to say one thing about Price. The only thing I'm worried about Price this year is his knees. Right. That's the only problem.
Of course.
And I just want to bring that up because Sarkisian it's been reported in the Times and ESPN Seattle, Brockton Salk show that Sarkisian is on Keith Price like none other this year. Get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball as soon as possible. If he can do that, then I think everything that you just said will happen.
Well, of course.
But if he can't, I'm just saying that's something to watch throughout the rest of the season.
Definitely. And he's got the accuracy.
He does have the accuracy.
That's the thing. Yeah. He's got the arm. He's got the accuracy. He's just got to work on the discipline. 2.5 seconds. Get rid of the ball. If no one's open, throw it away, man. Run. Get out of the pocket. Throw it away. It's really that simple. But that's the lesson that all young quarterbacks have to learn over time, because from Pop Warner to high school, you've just been told, hey, if no one's open, let's just run.
Yeah, I've noticed that with a lot of young quarterbacks.
And that's one of the things where and again off on a random tangent with Tim Tebow. Because people would talk about throwing and his lack of accuracy. Well, you can't necessarily blame him as a quarterback. Blame his Pop Warner coach. Blame his high school coach. Blame his college coach for not teaching him those methods, leading up to his professional career. He's now learning what it means to be a quarterback and stay in the pocket now, when he should have been learning that in college and in high school. I understand Pop Warner, everybody plays every single position, so you're just kind of running around. I get that, but once you start to hit high school or the equivalent of select football, which does in fact exist, when you start getting to that point, you should be honing in those skills for what it takes to be a potential Joe Montana, John Elway, Jim Kelly. That's what you should be doing.
Or your favorite Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Well, and kind of to add to that, I think it all depends on what kind of high school you go to.
Sure.
If you go to, let's just say, use the state of Washington, for example, where 4A is the biggest school district, right? If you go to a 4A school, well, yeah, you're going to be specialized a little bit more. Yeah. But if you go to like a 2A, a 1A, a 2B, like if you go to Ellensburg High School or Chelan High School or Brewster High School, you're going to play multiple positions. Yeah. And you're going to have a lot more spread and more running offense.
Yeah, the single wing and the wing tee are huge in those levels. So.
Exactly. As somebody who has announced games for those levels, I can tell you that's the case. But okay, so you have the Huskies finishing in third.
I have them finishing it in third. I feel that they don't have what it takes just yet to potentially be the champion of the Pac-12 North. I still give that to Oregon, and it pains me to say that because they haven't really lost much, and also they run that spread offense, which is a terror for defense because one, they're going to be running plays extremely fast. So and no matter how many substitutions you make, the average defensive person is going to have to spend at least 3 plays on the field before they can get a sub. So that's going to eventually wear them down. I mean, again, the only way you can do it is if you pop the quarterback and you pop the running back in the mouth. Who cares if they don't have the ball?
Right.
You pretend like you have the ball, therefore I'm going to lay you out.
And
the SEC teams did that to Oregon. They said, we're just going to pop you in the mouth. We've been dealing with the spread offense at Auburn. That national championship made me laugh because I was like, you really think you're going to get away with the spread offense, an offense that Auburn runs?
Yeah.
The defense has been running against that all season.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too is like the annoying thing for the spread offense is when I was the quote unquote color analyst for the Brewster High School Bears when I was in radio a couple years ago. Man, calling the spread as an announcer is got to be one of the hardest.
No idea who has the ball.
Oh my God! I mean, there were some plays like where it's like, okay, and you hand up to the number 27 has the ball, and he's tackled at the 30. He ran from the 15.
And boom goes the dynamite.
And boom goes the dynamite. I mean, well, and haven't you noticed that too on TV too? Like, a camera angle will focus in on the potential handoff, and then the ball's over here, and then it will.
Definitely
pan away. So it's also...
I call those plays when the cameraman is fooled and means the play worked. Because usually the cameraman's fooled, they're like, where'd they go? And all of a sudden he's running it for a touchdown going, everybody was fooled.
Yeah.
No one knew what was going on.
And Oregon is, of course, extremely good at doing that. I think the Huskies will finish in third as well, but I don't think they're going to get off to the start that they did last year. I think...
well, they've got a tough test. I mean, they've got a not pushover in San Diego State coming up,
and Portland State,
and Portland State. So those teams are going to be tough, and then they've got to go to LSU.
Little correction: they're going to play San Diego State, then go to LSU, and then play Portland State. But basically, I see what you're saying. But after that, they as of right now, they got to play LSU, who is the third-ranked team in the country. They got to play Stanford, the 21st team that's ranked in the country right now. Oregon at number 5, and USC at number 1. Plus,
good on them for getting the number 1 after being suspended.
Yeah, exactly. But that's going to be a tough stretch because after the Portland State game, you got Stanford, Oregon, and USC in order, and I believe, if I'm doing this correctly, without a bye week.
Right.
So it's good, and then after that you have, the weaker teams, the Arizonas, the Oregon State, the Californias, and Utahs, and that type of deal. But so I think the Huskies, I think there is a chance that they will go 8-4. But I think the key game, if everything goes according, I know you love this saying, on paper.
On paper, everything looks good on paper.
Yeah, but on paper, I think the Huskies can go 8-4. But in order to go 8-4, they must beat Oregon State.
Definitely.
They must beat Oregon. If they lose to Oregon State, I think the best that they can go is 7-5.
7-5, yeah. So, and that seems to be more the realist. I was thinking about 8-4, 7-5. That's why I just was like, well, it all depends on how we do within our half of the conference. So I'm okay with at the beginning of the season we go 2-1. I'm fine with that at the beginning.
2-1. Yeah, me too. Well,
because I've already marked LSU as a loss, just because one. They're going down to SEC country. And also LSU is funny. They are that's Tennessee. I'm sorry, Tennessee's the only other stadium in the country of Division I that actually has a lake in the back of the stadium.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So they actually drive their boats to the games as well.
So before we wrap this up, you were in the Husky band longer than I was. Did you ever go?
Wonderful years.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you ever go to an SEC school?
No, I did not ever go to an SEC school.
Okay, so you don't know what the atmosphere like.
No, but from what I have heard, I've had friends who've gone to. Actually, my buddy Trevor.
Oh.
He went to.
Hi, Trevor.
My buddy. No, sorry, that was Florida. Yeah, Florida. He went to a Florida Gators game, and he says one from a tailgate perspective, you're never going to see anything like it because they live and breathe tailgate out there, and two, the atmosphere, though it's rough, it's still you know who the fans are. You do, and every single person in that stadium is there from 7 a.m. to 11:30 at night, and even then some, because the police they don't necessarily say, hey, you guys have to leave now. It's a party all the time, and they love them some college football. In the grassroots conferences, SEC, Big 12, Big 10. Featuring two teams, they live and breathe this stuff. Professional football, to them, that's the second tier sport. They live and breathe the rah of college football. That's where it still lies, despite the fact that college football is more of a business now. That's where the majority of that stuff still lies, down in those conferences. So that's a huge thing. They take pride in their teams, and they take pride in their history and their lineage. So that's going to be very, very important. And it's also the crowd as a whole is so hostile. So. Right.
Well, and kind of to reiterate what Brock Hewitt said, I think he said this a couple of years ago when ESPN Seattle first came out, was he's talking about how this is their only major sport.
Mm-hmm.
Where, as in like here in Seattle, we got the Seahawks, we got the Mariners, we got the Storm, we have the Sounders, we have the Huskies. If you want to go further than that, we also have the T-Birds. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas to an SEC, like Alabama and Tennessee, well, not Tennessee because they got the Titans, but to Alabama, Mississippi, and that's it.
That's what they do on Saturdays.
And from what it sounds like, it's kind of a similar atmosphere to going to a USC Trojans game, because I know you have gone there.
Yes, I have.
LA
Coliseum is a terrible place. Not in the sense of like the fans there are terrible people. I just don't like the stadium personally.
I can imagine that.
Like you feel even where the actual fans sit, you still feel really far away from the action, and I don't like that as a sports fan. I want to feel like I'm on top of it, no matter where I'm sitting.
Right, I understand. I get that. But as you said, though, you got into a conversation with the USC fan and said, hey, we don't need a professional team because we have the Trojans.
Right, exactly.
It feels like. So it's the same atmosphere to the SEC. So, well, that will do it for the preview of the Washington Huskies. Coming up next, we're going to have a Pac-12 preview, so stick around for that for our second segment on the on football week.
All
so
right.
There we go. All right.